It's a DACCCAST. It's a DACCCAST. It's a DACCCAST. DACCCAST. Cause I said it's a DACCCAST. It's a DACCCAST. It's a DACCCAST. 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 DACCCAST.
You're listening to DACCAST, produced by students of Danville Area Community College. And now your hosts, Kaya and Keegan.
Yo, 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 it's Kaya and Keegan here from the basement of the clock tower.
Here on DACCAST, we get to know the familiar faces we see all over campus in hopes that students at DACC and members of the community get to know each other a little better.
With that being said, we are here with the coordinator of campus and community resources and the academic advisor, as well as the international student liaison. It's a very long title.
How much should we mess that up?
You did great.
Was that all? Was that your titles?
That was
right?
it.
Okay.
Okay. It's Dawn Nasser. How are you today?
I am great.
Awesome.
Yes, it's wonderful to be down here with you guys. I enjoy the show.
Very excited.
Okay, so go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what a normal day here looks like for you.
There is no normal, which is what I love, though, actually. So my name's Dawn Nasser. I have a wide variety of roles, I guess, here at DACC. But that really is one of the things that I love, is DACC is one of those places that I think encourages you to learn things, encourages you to pursue activities that you like and enjoy or want to learn about. So I guess my main role would be academic advisor. So I register students for classes, help them with plans, discuss transfer options. I guess maybe secondly to that would be the campus and community resource aspect of it. Any students that are having troubles and need some resources, I can help connect them either with something on campus or something that might be in the community. So that is very enjoyable to, try and find ways of helping students be successful. And then I work with the international students, which I love.
Yeah,
and I left that for third just because we don't have a ton of international students here.
Yeah.
But they just are an amazing group of students, from the entire, I've been here about 10 years at DACC in a full-time role. And every single one of them has something to offer, something to provide to the college, to the community, and everything else.
So my brothers used to play soccer here at DACC a long time ago, and they were international students, right? And every time I heard that, I was like, are they confused? Do they know where Danville? Are they as confused as Dr. Nacco was?
Yeah.
Did they look into this? Are you sure?
But you know what? Surprisingly, a lot of not surprisingly, because born and raised in Danville, but they actually end up really enjoying that small town vibe. I think students and staff members really embrace them. They're curious. They ask them questions. And I think they just kind of like that small town feel.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So take us into your background a little bit. So you graduated from DHS, and then take us through your college days.
So DHS, class of 2000.
Wow. Wait,
and then,
that was before we were even... were you
before
born?
you were born?
Well, November.
It was before
I
was born.
Yeah, nothing. We were so worried about the computers crashing, all of that sort of thing. It was safe. So graduated DHS, and then I came out here to DACC. And DACC has always been a second home to me because my mom has worked out here for years. So I pretty much just grew up here. Did my 2 years here, which was a blast. I actually started out wanting to go into marine biology because I loved animals. I loved the water. I was a swimmer growing up. So I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. And I think that's the great thing about community college is it lets you kind of explore some things, see if you're good at it, see if you're not. So it turns out I was horrible at science. So I was actually working in the business office at the time, and I was great with the numbers and the bookkeeping and all of that. So I decided to go into business. So switched my major, took some extra classes to, just kind of make up my time here, got done in 2 years. And then I went to University of Illinois at Chicago, finished off my bachelor's in finance. Then it was kind of a whirlwind adventure in terms of, academics. Took a year off to travel.
I heard.
Went back.
Yeah.
tried to get my master's in accounting, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do this. Took quite a few years off. I did finally end up getting my master's after a few attempts.
Okay.
But I think it was great timing, and I think it ended up being something that I really wanted. It was in human and social services. So, yeah.
So you said you went to UIC. What was it like? Did you live on campus there?
No, so I lived actually like a block off campus, so it was close enough. I worked on campus there as well. I've always been one of those people that's really involved. So, I worked here at DACC. I volunteered when I was here at DACC. When I went to UIC, I worked in the fitness center and actually in one of the international offices. So, I was involved. But I did live off campus, went to a lot of the sporting events, that sort of thing. But UIC was a little different than some colleges in a lot of ways because it was a commuter school.
Yeah.
So because so many students come from different areas of Chicago, I mean, there were dorms, but it wasn't necessarily, one of those things that a lot of students stayed in.
Yeah.
So.
Because isn't that campus is in the heart
it
of
is
Chicago?
Right downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and great opportunities, internships. Downtown, I actually also worked, not part of school, but at Lake Point Towers, which is right there by the pier, and did some lifeguarding and babysitting on those sorts of things there. So I had a lot of really great opportunities and experiences there as well. But I think to my core, I knew it wasn't my place. It was so busy, and people are just so focused and not as friendly as you would find them here and in other places.
So did you decide that you were a small town person, or you still like a city?
I think definitely more small town than big town.
Yeah.
But I loved Savannah. So I lived in Savannah, Georgia for 4 years. We were kind of talking about that a little bit beforehand. And I just loved that feel because there was so much to do. And it was, a bigger, I guess, city, but not so big. And it just still had nature and it still, people were so friendly. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But definitely between Chicago and Danville, I would say Danville, just because people here are amazing. And, once you get to know people, I mean, they're helpful, they're friendly. And it really does provide a lot of really, really great opportunities.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you said that you had worked with the international students up there, and now you work with them down here, which makes sense because we heard that you've done a bit of international traveling yourself.
I have.
Can you take us through, what you've done?
Yeah. So I guess if we backtrack, my mom's actually from Chile. So my mom came to DACC as an international student. So growing up, we always had students in and out of our house, and learned about cultures, learned about their experiences, and just kind of different ways that people live, I guess. And maybe unknowingly, I always enjoyed it. And I think when I went to go and travel, it just kind of exploded that even more. So I've been to Chile on multiple occasions. High school, I was able to go to Spain, which was an amazing place. But then I really wanted to after I got my bachelor's, take that time to travel. So it started with a 30-day road trip around the U.S., which was fun. It was, out of the back of a van with a futon in it, and, really got to see so many things.
Yeah.
And I tell people, traveling, learning about things, you need to do it as much as you can.
Yeah.
If it is staying in the U.S., we have so many things in the U.S., and I think especially living here in the Midwest, you can go 9 or 12 hours and hit some amazing things, Stayed at a lot of Flying J rest areas and, showered inside the next day. So, there are ways that you can do it to save money as well.
So what are some major places you made stops at in the U.S.?
So I think, the big parks are huge. Your Yellowstone, your Yosemite, whale watching in Washington, Grand Canyon, went down into Mexico, just those sorts of things. I think those were the bigger ones probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite national park?
I love Yellowstone.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I keep saying I would really love to go back there. Yeah.
I haven't been to that one yet.
Yep. There's a lot to do, a lot to see. You've got that nature aspect of it too. So.
Yeah, I feel like I grew up in Ohio, so I'm Midwest feel, and I would go to baseball tournaments in Florida every now and then. That's the only time I'd really get out. And I took a trip with my girlfriend to Los Angeles before my senior year, and I felt like I was on a different planet.
Oh, yeah.
So do you
Very much
agree
so.
with the like kind of you're in a bubble in the Midwest, and then when you leave somewhere, it's totally different?
I mean, maybe to an extent. I know a lot of people that definitely would describe it as that, but I think I always grew up traveling and and even swimming. I swam for a USS team, so we would go to Tennessee and Kentucky, and we were in Indiana a lot. We would go to Florida for trainings and stuff. So I think I was always kind of exposed to it. And then, we would go to Chile, and my parents would always describe these things. And we always had people in our lives, even if we weren't going somewhere, they were describing, all of these things to us. So it's a bubble, but I think it's maybe a bubble that you can easily kind of
Get out of.
branch out from.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like any way that, like, we're in the middle, like we said, but any way that you go, there's something else, like, very
Absolutely.
different.
So randomly, a couple years ago, my two best friends and I, one of them's in Phoenix, one of them's somewhere else in Illinois. We're like, okay, where are we going to go this year? Because we always try and go somewhere, either with us or with our families. And we ended up in Omaha, which is super random,
I've
right?
been to
Who goes
Omaha.
to Omaha?
I actually made a trip to Nebraska for Omaha, and then I got there and I was like, there's nothing here.
See, we had a great time.
Really? Maybe I wasn't doing it right then.
We did the most random things, and we just made the best of it. So, and I think that's it. You just have to try and make the best of it. Even Danville, we have parks. We have little places downtown. You just, I think, have to try and, see what a place has to offer and just try and take what you can from it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I very much agree. And let's see. You've not only done the States, but South America too? You've been to multiple places?
So after the U.S. road trip, went and stayed in Chile for a few months.
Okay.
And then as part of that, did a 2-week backpacking trip. And that was up into Bolivia and Peru and back down. Almost died a couple times, which, I mean.
Yeah. Those are the best stories, though.
So Bolivia, I would say overall of the countries I've been to was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And I think just from this very raw kind of like natural place that it was, like they weren't overburdened by like images and like technology and, all of these sorts of things. I mean, they might be now, but, back then it was just, the people still stuck with their customs, and dressed and, were a community. And so I really enjoyed Bolivia. I would say the one thing that I didn't like, we actually went with one of my cousins who was an archaeology. No. He was an anthropology major. So he loved cultures, studied cultures. And he's like, oh, you know what? We need to go to this little town, this little city. It's at the edge of the rainforest, like right by Brazil. And it's going to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. All right, sign me up. So we go to, sign up to get on the bus to go up to this little village. And they're like, well, the new road is closed, so you're going to have to take the old road. I didn't find out until later that it's called Death Road. So if you look up Death Road, Bolivia, on the side of a mountain, one lane, and like the driver's speed, there come to these points where it's a little bit wider so you can like pass people. But like until you get to one of those points, like the other vehicles are backing up or you're backing up. Like I remember looking over the edge and the tires are like half over the cliff.
No.
There's just cars sitting down there from past wrecks.
So going up there had to ride the road, coming back had to ride the road. So that was definitely one of the scariest parts of any of the trips that I've been on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So then from Bolivia, went into Peru and saw Machu Picchu, which was probably the most gorgeous thing I've ever seen.
So would you recommend it?
Absolutely.
I went on a cruise one time, and you could do like what is it called? When you can go and do something.
Excursions.
Excursions.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, next. No, I don't want to do that.
Oh my gosh. Machu Picchu was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So we got there. It was earlier in the morning and it was kind of foggy. And then as the day went on and the sun came up, it had like a completely different look to it. There were wild llamas running around. Like it's just it's a really, really pretty place.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I know not everyone enjoys seeing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, it is something that I like. But I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then as part of that trip also, after the hiking trip, and you know, that was also one of those save money kind of things. Spent the night in the buses traveling from different cities and, you know, so it was a good adventure. But then also while down there in Chile, went to Argentina for a couple days and did whitewater rafting, which was amazing. I did back out of an excursion type thing where it was like jumping off a cliff with a parachute.
You
I was
didn't
like,
want to jump off a cliff?
signed up, and then I was like, yeah, this probably isn't my thing. So, you know, decided not to do that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, had some really great experiences. And Chile is a place that I would absolutely recommend to anybody go. You have, and it's a long, thin country, you know, right on the coast of South America. So you're bordered by ocean, mountain, desert, and Antarctic. Like you can see whatever you want to see there.
That's pretty
So,
cool.
yeah,
So
it's an amazing place.
all this time in these different countries, what was the weirdest food that you ate?
I love food, so I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I would say there was anything that I was like, ooh. No, I still complain about this, but this wasn't even like during my travels. It was one time when I was in Chile with my parents, and I was probably, I don't know, 7th grade-ish maybe, blood sausage.
Ew, ew.
I don't even want to know what that is.
It's like blood, they process it with the meat. And I tried it because my parents paid me to try it.
Oh, well, then
But I have complained
probably would
about
do
it for the past, 30 years or whatever. So
You would never again do it?
no, I don't think so.
No.
No.
So in what country were you most surprised about their culture? Like it's been covered incorrectly or from a different light. Is there any that come to mind?
So I'm going to say, and we haven't touched base with Europe necessarily because I was in Spain, I was in France, Slovakia, and then Hungary also. France was my least favorite. And,
Is it
and I know
overrated?
that's like a
It's
big
overrated?
tourist place. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the cleanest. And I don't think the people were the nicest necessarily. And,
Kinda
there are some countries that people do definitely have, these kind of like impressions or biases about Americans.
Yeah.
But I don't know. People just weren't as friendly maybe as I thought they would be.
Gonna
So-
go erase France from my bucket list now.
I think I've actually heard that the like waiters and waitresses are like extremely rude. Like when
They
you go
can
to a
be.
restaurant here, they like come up and say, "Do you need more water? Do you need anything else?" And when you're in France, you'll just like see them across the road just chilling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I've heard.
In some places, like I was in Slovakia twice, they don't really use ice in their drinks like we do.
We're weird Americans.
Yeah.
We're so weird.
So like I
Drinks
remember this
cold.
one place like we would go fairly frequently because one of the times I was there like 3 months. And like they kind of started like boiling water and making ice for me if I wanted it. But like now I don't really use ice. Like if I go to restaurants, I don't get ice.
Yeah.
And, I just started not using it anymore. I don't know, but sometimes there are little things like that. We definitely eat more than a lot of other countries do. Our portion sizes are huge. We don't walk as much. We're not as healthy in maybe some of those aspects.
I went up to Canada though, and just Toronto, and
Yeah.
you could tell a big difference there. And it truly is like Americans are like a different breed.
Yeah.
We're-
Some places it is, and other places are just so accepting. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you always have to be safe no matter where you go, but just try and embrace it as much as you can and don't leave a bad taste in their mouth. Don't give them a reason to judge us.
Yeah.
And I remember one person telling me, you can't be an American. You're not fat.
See, exactly. That's like one-
just kind of like random things like that. I will also say, so when I've been to Canada too, but I loved Canada.
Yeah,
that was
I
just
really
the
loved
Niagara
Canada.
Falls side. But like in Mexico. So that was during the road trip. So like kind of went into Mexico through Tijuana, which
Okay.
of course was an experience. I mean, for anyone that has really heard much about there. But then just kind of kept driving south along the coast. Got stuck in the sand.
Okay.
And there was like this amazing like older Mexican guy that like came and helped, and why don't you come over and I'll give you some food. And so I've really met a lot of amazing people in my travels too. Like you really do see how caring people can be, and just like globally, like you can't really judge people based off of what you've seen on TV or read in the newspaper or in books, or even based off of someone else's experience, because,
it's always different.
It's always different.
Okay, so just really quickly, I wanted to touch on this. You had said some things about Europe, and probably the listeners are like, oh, she's traveled again. But I heard that you lived there for a small period of time.
Yeah, kind of. So Slovakia, I was there for 3 months. Yeah, wow. The person that I dated in college was actually from Slovakia. Oh. So I was there twice. So after we did the road trip and the South America trip, we went and stayed there for 3 months. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So did you basically just save up a lot of money?
Yes.
Okay. So,
various, I guess, ways of being fortunate. Saved a lot of money, worked usually like 3 jobs when I was in Danville and then in Chicago. Okay. Fortunate enough that my parents paid as a graduation gift for my ticket to Chile. Yeah. And then, always had people to stay with.
That's the biggest
didn't have
thing.
to pay for the hotels.
Lodging, if you can find
really
somewhere cheap to stay or with somebody else.
Yeah, and a lot of those places, the food is way cheaper than it is here. You walk almost everywhere, so it wasn't like renting a car, or like you take the bus or you walk.
Yeah.
So I have worked a lot in my life. I started working right when I turned 12, really, and just worked a lot and tried to save up for the things that I want to do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then you had said you were part of the USS swimming team?
So it was a USS. So United States Swimming is USS. So it wasn't.
Okay. It's not like
so essentially
the
we swam nationally.
Yeah.
So I did that.
And I heard you
in high school.
In high school, you broke a 20-year-old record.
Is
did.
That true? Yes. Yeah.
Do you brag about that? Do you wear it like on your shirt?
Honestly,
a T-shirt that says "I broke a record."
I don't tell people like a lot of my stories.
No.
Even like my travel stories. I was thinking about this. Even a lot of my best friends don't know like some of the like deep stories. They know where I've been, but it's not. Even some of my closest friends. Not long ago, I was telling them about this whole situation that happened at like one of the campsites, and I was like, seriously, I could have died multiple times on these trips. So no, it's not really something that I talk
exactly.
about.
Yeah, you like hide it from your mom
but
first.
the record breaking was exciting for various reasons. Just breaking a record, of course, is amazing. But it was one of my previous coaches that had the record before me.
Wow.
So she actually came to the next home meet and congratulated me and everything. So that was very cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
That makes it a little bit sweeter. You
It
can rub it in
does.
their
It
face a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
She's so humble about it. I don't take this in red.
You said you lived in Savannah, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And did you work at an animal shelter?
I did.
Yeah.
So
wait, why do you say it like that?
because I just loved it. I love my job now, but that was like puppy kiss. It wasn't just puppy kisses, but no, I was telling Keegan, just before we started. So I got the finance degree, and I did want to go into something animal related because I always loved animals. So after the failed attempt at my accounting master's degree in Chicago, I was here for a few months, and I was like, I want to go somewhere. I don't want to stay here right now. And I always wanted to go south. So I took a road trip, took like a week-long road trip, went to a couple different places, got to Savannah. It was pouring down rain. And I don't know, it was something about the feel of the place. I just was like, this is my place. Like, this is where I'm going to live.
While it's pouring down rain?
Well,
You just said
and I don't even like rain that much.
Yeah.
It was just, I knew that it had this feel that I wanted. So actually a couple of my friends were like, oh, well, we'll move there with you. So they ended up staying like 6 months and maybe 4 months or something. I was there 4 years because I really loved it. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a job lined up. Didn't have like anything. One of the friends was like, oh, I know someone there. I can find us a house, So I get down there, after a couple days, I'm like, obviously I need to start working. I need to make some money. So I went to the animal shelter, and I was like, I've always wanted to work with animals. Like, I have nothing to lose at this point in my life. Like, didn't really have any specific goals. Like, I was just like, I'm going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I went to the animal shelter and applied. And then I went to an animal eye clinic, which I like never knew there was a thing. It's a vet that's like just does eye stuff.
Do you think that's like a bigger city thing?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like people have
You have
to.
a specialty for everything.
Exactly.
I mean, there is. I mean, there are specialty vets
Yeah.
everywhere. So, applied at both those places, went and interviewed. And I get to the car, and the guy from the eye clinic calls, and he's like, we want to hire you. I'm like, okay. And then the shelter calls, and they're like, we want to hire you.
Wow.
And I'm like,
What a twist.
oh, what do I do? So I ended up working at both places. So
well, there you go.
full-time at the shelter, part-time at the eye clinic. And I loved both of them, really. But the animal shelter, I think, taught me so much because, much like DACC, they kind of let me form, different positions or, kind of do things that I wanted to do. So I started out as just, an adoption counselor, learning about the animals, going through adoption applications, talking to people about adoption and animal care. And then I wanted to learn the vet tech stuff. So I learned how to give vaccinations, how to, do all, do the microchips and all of that. Then I became the volunteer coordinator and then the various other community representative type thing. So it was one of those things that I feel like I was really able to grow and kind of adapt in different ways with it, but still do something that I really loved.
Yeah.
And one of the things I loved about that is also you were up and you were moving and doing a lot of things too. So I did love that job, and I think realistically, I think my mom hated it. Actually, I know she did. She's like, you got that business degree and we paid for you to go to college. But I loved it. I think it provided me, I don't want to say a happiness in some way, but it let me make an attempt at doing something that I wanted to do when I was little.
And you wanted to do it.
Yeah, and I felt like I made a difference.
Yeah.
I really did feel like I made a huge difference in various ways. It made me in some ways also lose some hope in humanity when you would see how some people brought animals in.
So I was going to ask you, because I used to volunteer at the Humane Society, and some people say that if you really love animals, you shouldn't work so closely to them, if that makes sense.
I disagree.
You
See, people would
disagree?
always tell me, I can't believe you don't take them all home. And my response was, well, because I care about them, I don't want to take them all home. Because then you can't provide them attention. It's not a quality of life. It's just a shelter then.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I think you're more weary of people. You're like,
Yeah.
do they know what they're doing?
Yeah.
And, I've tried not to counsel people too much when they get animals and, all that stuff since I've stopped doing that job. But, I don't think so. I loved animals and I loved that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd be able to survive it long term. There's something called compassion fatigue. And I think a lot of people that work in those sorts of fields, even in counseling type fields, kind of, get that. So,
Yeah.
Definitely. But I loved it. I actually started working when I was in Chicago after Hurricane Katrina happened.
Mm-hmm.
I started volunteering at a shelter up in Chicago. So that's what kind of sparked, some of my love of doing that.
Yeah.
So
I love animals so much.
So is it your goal to get back to Savannah at some point?
no,
It's not. Are you sure?
no. So I moved back because I had my son.
Yeah.
So he's 12 now. And I wanted my family. I mean, it was just hard coming here and going back and then my parents coming. I felt like my son needed family and I needed help. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes a village.
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
So he is older now and I have talked about it, maybe not necessarily Savannah, but I've talked about what kind of changes do I want in my life? And it doesn't have to do with not having a love of DACC and not having a love of the things that I do, because I do love my job here. I love working with the students. This year's been so hard with, working from home. And then even now, you just don't have people that come in very often. But I think I like to challenge myself sometimes, and I do like to mix things up.
Yeah.
Whether it's scenery or whether it's the job description or, whatever it might be. I am one of those people that likes to learn things And I do like change, which is kind of weird because I like change, but I also like the comfort of stability also. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
Maybe it's like the mix of like going and traveling for a long time and then moving back.
Yeah.
You know, having a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I think, again, like having that option to travel does make a difference because, you know, if you do start to get antsy, like, you know, if I've been here too long and I feel like I need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I can look forward to, okay, well, let me take that trip to
Yeah.
here or there or whatever. And it does get you kind of out of your zone for a little while. And then you come back and everything's good.
Very true. Were
Yeah.
you able to travel at all last year?
Um,
2020?
I don't know if I should say that. Yeah. So one of my best friends lives in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So we did in the summer, which is not the smartest idea in Phoenix, but did take a trip to Phoenix, and it was a road trip, so didn't get on a plane. Stayed in her house. Like, you know, she has a huge house and a huge backyard, so it was fine. So it wasn't like that risk of, you know, being exposed to other people at restaurants or bars or, you know, any of those sorts of places.
Yeah.
So it was really just us there. So I was able to get out, and
Yeah.
so that was really nice. But it was an interesting adventure because, like, on the road trip, you know, stopping at the rest areas, wearing gloves at the hand, you know, at the pump, sanitizing, Lysoling, you know, spraying shoes. So yeah, we stayed extra cautious, but I was fortunate enough to have a place like that I could go that would be safe and still be able to kind of like get out.
If it makes you feel any better, I definitely traveled. Whoops.
So like, don't judge me, guys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was
Please
safe.
don't judge me. But
Gotcha. So when it comes to your role here at DACC, what would you say is the hardest part about your job?
I think maybe students not always realizing their potential. Because I'm one of those, I will be a student advocate, and I have bugged some of the instructors so much, you know, can you let the student back in?
Yeah.
Or, you know, is there any way that you can work with them? So I try and be a student advocate, and I think it's hard when students don't always advocate for themselves, or like they say they're going to, you know, you stick your neck out there and sometimes they don't follow through with their side of things. Because I think you just see so much in them sometimes that they don't always see in themselves. And I mean, granted, I understand family situations, life situations, everything like that happens. You know, but sometimes I guess it is a little disappointing that you do wish that I think maybe it boils down to communication, you know, because oftentimes something can be resolved with communication.
yeah.
With the instructor, with the advisor, with, you know, whoever it might be. You know, one of the things that I've told students a lot, you know, communication's key, but also not burning bridges.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I've always held on to that. Like when I was a student worker here at DACC, you know, I went to Chicago and I traveled, I would send postcards to my to the people that I worked with here at DACC. And I think little things like that just make so much of a difference. And I think I digress. But yeah, so I think that's one of the hardest things is knowing and seeing the potential in students and, you know, them not following through, especially when it's something that they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Does anybody still work here that you worked with or around back in the day?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
People will stay at DACC. People love working at DACC.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really great place to work.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your goal for a student when they step foot on campus for the first time?
So my goal for them, I think, would be for them to find what it is that they need. Because not everyone comes here wanting to graduate. You know, some people just want to get out of a hard situation, maybe improve their skills a little bit. You know, so really whatever it is that their goal is, I hope that they can at least gain some skills that will help them reach that.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Because again, even if you don't finish, if you're gaining skill,
Yeah.
you've benefited, you know, whether it's communication skills, writing skills, you know, personal skills, the soft skills, anything like that that's going to help you in the long run in life, then you've benefited.
Yeah.
Just take as much as you can from it.
We're now going to move on to our rapid questions segment called DACC Attack.
1, 2, 3, 4. Deck attack, deck attack, deck attack, deck attack, deck attack.
That's it?
All right. North America or South America?
North.
Not very
Yeah.
confident.
No, it's north.
Mornings or evenings?
Evenings.
Georgia or Illinois?
Georgia.
Music or books?
Music.
TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
Plane flight or road trip?
Road trip.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Eat in or dine out?
I just love food. I'll have it anywhere. Let's go with Eden.
Okay.
COVID, you know.
Yeah. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Burgers or pizza?
Pizza.
All right.
Done.
All right.
Stressful as it sounds.
No, honestly, I thought you guys are asking people to choose between children.
Yeah.
And
we
I'm...
are.
No, that really wasn't that bad.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Dawn, for being here. We really appreciated having you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. This has been the DACCAST with Kia and Keegan.
Stay classy, Jaguars.